Semifinals here of Grand Prix Las Vegas. I'm Gabby Sparks, joined by Brian David Marshall, and we are watching Andrew Cuneo versus Michael Burnett. So, BDM, we were able to take a look at the players' decks. Can you give us just a little rundown of what they're trying to do?
Yeah, absolutely. We got a three-color deck here from Michael Burnett. He is firmly in Jeskai. I'm sorry, this would be Esper. There we go. He's got two Memorial to Glories in his lands, but two Skittering Surveyors to make the mana come together. And he's playing sort of a heroic, a little bit of a heroic, a little bit of a legendary. Both players have Rona, Disciple of Gix.
Yeah, that card is really impressive.
Wrath Capation Ship's Mage is a big part of Michael Burnett's deck. Andrew Cuneo is Sultai, so he's mostly blue-black, which is what we saw him do in the last round of the Swiss. That was his last draft deck with Sultai. But he's splashing green. He's got two green sources here, and a pretty good reason for wanting to be green in Tatiova, Benthic Druid, a card a lot of people say is just the best non-artifact uncommon in the format.
Yeah, it's one of those cards that people will just be happy to go into gold for.
Oh, we've seen people bend their mana bases in disgusting ways to try to accommodate this card.
People will already be in like the triple color deck, and then it's like, oh, well, Tatiova, we're 4 colors now.
And because if that card sticks for any amount of time, the game is just going to pull away.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So a short sword for Michael Burnett and just a blood tallow candle for Andrew Cuneo. But Michael Burnett starting to roll his mana base with the Skittering Surveyor, getting an island.
So he has all the land he needs to operate this deck color-wise.
Oh, yeah, he gets it rolling. The Skittering Surveyor, very impressive, especially for making these mana bases come together, because Dominaria is definitely one of those formats where people want to splash their mythics and their legendary cards, too.
Looking at some of the cards that are in his deck, he's got a handful of legends. But he also has a couple cards, not as exciting. Something along the lines of an Aether Glider. Not super exciting.
Yeah, man. I'm seeing a Divination from Andrew Cuneo, so he's definitely drawing all the cards he wants.
Yeah, Michael Burnett does not equip that sword because he's going to spend 4 mana, and Stronghold Confessor is going to come down.
That's a really nice turn 4 play.
Yeah, 3/3 Menace, 4/4 Menace with the help of the sword. And Andrew's behind on board development, so that's going to be a real issue for him to deal with unless he has something like an Eviscerate.
Just an Academy Drake for Andrew. So he's definitely behind in terms of getting on the board. The Blood Tallow Candle might be able to take care of one of these creatures down the line, but it's still a little far away.
Yeah, 2 turns away. Needs to get to 6 mana to use that ability. And so Michael Burnett's going to be able to start whittling away at Andrew's life total, and now he's got a 5-drop.
Yeah, it's a Cloud Reader Sphinx, a really nice one, especially at common. It's going to let Michael scry, too.
What do you first pick out of a pack? Do you take Cloud Reader Sphinx or Sarah Angel? First pick, first pack.
I actually think wow, that's actually...
super tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think I like Cloud Reader Sphinx better, not because I think it's better than Sarah Angel, but because I think I like blue quite a bit better than white.
Absolutely.
In the set.
And it's less commitment intensive.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, how about you?
I really thought it was Sarah Angel up until Tim Ayton told me otherwise.
Oh, really?
And now I'm fully on Cloud Reader Sphinx because I'll just listen to what he says in Limited.
It just, it is close. I really do think it's a close pick, and a lot of it does matter how, obviously the point at which you're in the draft matters, but if it's pack 1, pick 1, yeah, I like blue a lot better.
Here is Eldest Reborn.
And this is going to be nice. Well, the creature that it's going to snipe is not that great of a creature. It's just a Skittering Surveyor, but starting to reanimate things later might get, especially if he uses the Blood Tallow Candle to get rid of something good.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, it might be that Andrew is happy to reanimate a Skittering Surveyor and get a land that turns on his Blood Tallow Candle in 2 turns if he doesn't find a 6th land the natural way.
If not, I think getting that Cloud Reader Sphinx would be big game.
Oh, yeah.
No, he does not have a land, it seems. No, he does have one. Okay. So he will be able to have 6 lands by chapter 3.
Yeah, kill the Sphinx. Make Michael discard a card. And then untap and get a Sphinx all his own and scry too. That's a pretty great value.
Yeah, this is where you see the Eldest Reborn shine. Even if it only took down a Skittering Surveyor, it's still looking awesome.
Yeah, the problem though is 6 unblockable damage. I mean, he could block it, but it's not going to work out for him if he does.
An unfortunate way to block with that Academy Drake. Let's see what the follow-up is from Michael. He has that Rona.
He's got Rona, and he's going to get the Skittering Surveyor.
Very nice.
And play it immediately out from Rona. Wow.
Yeah, we saw a game earlier, BDM, where Rona got to exile another Rona that was in the graveyard, and it was recast on top of it to exile a Partic Wanderer that made it into the graveyard at a later point in time. So you could just see this Rona kind of like comboing off. It was fantastic.
I love this card. Absolutely love it. I'm actually playing it in Commander.
Do you play a lot of Commander?
I do.
That's
I
awesome.
I have 2 decks that I really love, and Rona has made the cut, which is hard to do when you have a lot of cards you love.
Yeah, she's a very fun card. So there's the 6th land for Andrew, which does unlock his Blood Tallow Candle.
So he also has an Eviscerate if he wants to just save that candle for a rainy day. He could also potentially kill Rona. Get Rona back with Eldest Reborn, and then get another Eldest Reborn. But he doesn't really have that kind of time, it looks like, and he is going to kill the Sphinx with Blood Tallow Candle and is set to untap with that card in play next turn.
So if Michael Burnett can't do anything about this Eldest Reborn, that Cloud Reader Sphinx is about to be Andrew's.
Yeah, Michael Burnett does have a Blessed Light in his deck. Something that would let him disenchant the Eldest Reborn.
Yeah, sometimes it feels bad when one of the sagas is in Chapter 2 or after Chapter 1 has happened, or even right before Chapter 3. But some cards are just kind of unbeatable, right? Song of Freyalise is one of those cards that you just have to take care of.
Well, here comes Tetsuko Umezawa Fugitive, and that means Skittering Surveyor is unblockable. And Andrew Cuneo is down to 3 here. Yeah, wow. And Tetsuko and Skittering Surveyor are both going to be unblockable next turn.
All right, so this is Chapter 3, and Cloud Reader Sphinx comes back from the graveyard towards Andrew Cuneo.
So Eviscerate might actually have to kill the lowly Tetsuko.
Hello, Brian and Gabby. How are you?
Good.
We're great.
I just want to do a quick public service announcement because people are wondering, okay, we've seen them draft, what happens next? What happens next is because there are 2 semi-finals here, that means we have 1 spare overhead camera, which means that when the beta drafters have finished their draft, Martin Juza and Ben Stark will be under the camera live.
I've heard of both of those players, Rich.
Strangely, they're in the Hall of Fame, Mr. Pro Tour Historian. So
It's been a long weekend.
it's yeah. I was impressed. I remembered you were the Pro Tour Historian. So we will see them quarterfinal live in some part when the semi-finals are concluded and in and around that. And then the tables will be free for the semi-finals of the beta draft whilst the final is going on here. So we'll mix and match those. And the last match of the weekend on the stream, which, by the way, will be more than 35 hours long across 3 days, is going to be the final live of the beta draft. So
Wow.
if you love beta, you are going to see those fireballs flying here on the home of Magic.
So while
Thanks,
Rich
Rich
was giving us that update, the Eviscerate did take down Tetsuko, because again, that with Andrew's life total so low, he could not risk 2 unblockable creatures coming in. Just did not have the time to deal with that at 3 life. Now he's going to double block the Stronghold Confessor, which has picked up the short sword, and it looks like Befuddle.
Befuddle, wow. Yeah, and Andrew, it's a really low life total, but is doing the best he can to stabilize, and he's doing a good job.
Yeah, that's just a perfect Befuddle. That's a card Paul Rietzel talked a lot about when he was in the booth for his
How much
rounds.
did he like it?
He likes it quite a bit. He really likes to have one, especially in a blue-black deck like this, he said. And you see it there. I mean, it was basically the blue-dark banishing.
Yeah, no, it was very good. It was very good. It also randomly gets an Evra if that ever comes up. When people lose to that, it is bad.
That would be the greatest thing that could ever happen to someone.
I'm still looking for that BDM. I've drafted Dominaria a lot, but I have not been able to do that yet.
So there's a Mace Unicorn. And we've kind of hit a slow spot here for Michael Burnett, and perhaps Andrew Cuneo's turned the corner. By the way, he also has a Rona in his deck.
Yeah, they both have Ronas. I
And
mean,
so
here
we-
you can see how good she is, right? It's to the point where you would want to splash her if you can't. It's not a card that you need to play on turn 3, is the good thing.
Right.
So even if the splash is a little difficult, you can just wait a little bit to play her.
But she can still give you value even on turn 3 because you can start tapping her to exile her in 4 mana to exile cards, and you know it's pretty slow. But there have been times where it comes down early and it's been relevant. Well, there's Rona,
Oh, there's the Rona.
and that's gonna.
That gets the Eldest
Eldest
Reborn
Reborn,
back.
yeah,
And
wow.
he has enough mana to cast it this turn, too.
He's waiting for the counterspell from Michael Burnett.
And there's no counterspell, so here comes the Eldest Reborn. This Skittering Surveyor is never going to stick around.
Well, it knows what it did.
Yep.
Okay, so
Well,
here we
it
see
did
the
its job.
other ability of Rona, and exiles a Windgrace Acolyte.
That's a nice exile. So we'll see if Michael Burnett wants to play that Windgrace Acolyte. Obviously, when you have a card underneath Rona, it's a little fragile, so you want to take advantage of them when you can.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's really looking to. He doesn't have anything up in the air right now, and he's threatening to get run over by that Academy Drake and that Cloud Raider Sphinx.
Yeah, Andrew's been...
Although scary to mill some cards into your graveyard with an
Yes.
Eldest Reborn hanging out at chapter 1.
Yes, it's not an option, so you kind of got to do what you got to do, right?
Here comes Windgrace Acolyte, we believe.
Yeah, this looks like... Oh, but
Oh.
it's a 5-drop, but it's not the one you think.
Oh,
it's an
this is
Academy
great.
Journey Mage to bounce the Cloud Reader Sphinx, but this is Michael's Cloud Reader Sphinx, so he gets it back.
Yeah, it's been a long weekend for everyone to see Andrew Cuneo put the card in his
Yeah, and
hand.
he's like, wait, this sleeve is blue. What's going on? Yeah, that was nice technology.
Wow, that's great. And now the short sword is going to go on the Unicorn.
Yeah, that's not too bad. The Unicorn has lifelink.
And Andrew Cuneo is forced to block here. So he has to put Rona
Yeah, this
and
is-
the Academy Drake in the way.
This is really unfortunate for Andrew.
I mean, it's going to be a straight 1-for-1 here. But that short sword doing a lot of work here. And Michael gets to choose which of these two creatures he wants to
Yeah,
kill.
and
Looks
it-
like he's going to put... Well, he really wants to put that Rona in first place here. But also just doesn't want to have to deal with that flyer. So I think it's going to be the flyer first.
Yeah,
And
and
then
that is what's
Rona.
going to go away.
Yeah.
So
So-
Rona sticks around, and then Michael gains another 3. The Unicorn is dead, but the short sword gets to get equipped on something else, and it's going to go in the Rona.
Rona that has a Windgrace Acolyte exiled under it.
Oh, yeah, this Rona's ready to battle.
So here we see draws a card, discards Caligo Skin Witch is the discard for Michael Burnett.
And that's unfortunate for him. Look, Andrew still has a lot of cards in hand, so being able to kick that witch would be beneficial, but he's just trying to close the door. Andrew is at 3.
And Andrew needs to find a solid body here. Does he have any creatures? Oh, he's got a Cloud Reader Sphinx. That seems pretty good.
So land, Cloud Reader Sphinx.
Cloud Reader Sphinx, 4 toughness. That lines up well against both creatures on the board. Even if he moves the short sword over to the Academy Journey Mage, he does
Oh.
get to trade there.
Wow, he has a Tatiova in hand, is that right?
He
yes,
does.
but he doesn't have the green land for it.
Now, and maybe he'll scry into it.
Mm-hmm.
Plays a land here. Again, also thinking about Rona. You know, you might want to hold your lands for Tatiova. You know, more mana than you're going to need. But he's going to want to activate Rona at the very least. And he gets to scry too, so that's actually a nice little combo. You know, he can set up what card is going to be on top that he can exile with Rona.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if he has quite the amount of time he'll need to do that.
Yeah,
though.
he's just opting for 5 for that Cloud Reader Sphinx, and he will get to scry.
Yeah, Rona does need to block this turn.
At least the Cloud Reader Sphinx is going to be a good blocker, because otherwise this Rona was just going to be for nothing.
Yeah, I think what Michael Burnett's going to do next turn is untap, play Windgrace Acolyte, move the short sword over to the Academy Journey Mage, and then attack with both creatures. No, he's going to leave the short sword on the Ronin, so they're both lethal, actually. But he's going to lose one creature there, just going to get eaten by the Cloud Reader Sphinx. So this is pretty tough. And then he has to worry about Eldest Reborn.
Yeah, so if Andrew's able to get to the Chapter 3 to Eldest Reborn, this game turns around. So
Wow.
Michael is incentivized to try to close the door on the game now.
Yeah, the imprint of bricks are firmly marked on Andrew's back right now.
Oh, yeah.
And Michael Burnett's just like, all right, how do I push my advantage here, but also not just get blown out? Just suddenly give Andrew a way back in. Here we see. He is going to play.
This is from hand, so it's a Cloud Reader
Oh, it's the Cloud
Sphinx.
Reader Sphinx. We forgot, you're right, that he had bounced. So
Yeah, it's the one that came back from the other side.
He just puts both cards on the bottom. And I think he's just going to pass the turn. Wow. And that's going to give Andrew a chance.
Oh, and he gets a Sentinel, the Pearl Trident, onto that
wait a
Rona.
minute. This is pretty interesting here because he can, with the Eldest Reborn's trigger on the stack,
blink it and basically buy it back. Again,
Yeah.
they have an awesome interaction together.
Wow. This is going to be great.
And this might actually prompt some action from Michael Burnett because he can see how bad this is about to be for him.
Wow. Michael Burnett is not happy here. And he's going to let Andrew untap.
All right.
He's going to draw a card.
Draw, and now the Eldest Reborn.
Trigger goes on the stack.
Yes, and with a trigger on the stack, he's going to cast that Sentinel Blink, the Eldest Reborn. All right, so the trigger's on the stack, and it's going to come back at the end of the turn, but still, he's going to basically buy the entire spell back.
He still gets to read all 3 chapters of the saga. This is amazing. Chapter 4 of a saga is the best chapter.
Yes. How about, episode 4, 5, and 6?
Yeah. So now the Eldest Reborn comes back into play. And you know what? You got to sacrifice something there, Michael Burnett. He's like, all right, I guess it'll be this Academy Journey Mage.
Yeah, and a lot of times the Eldest Reborn just sacrifices something that's not that important. A Skittering Surveyor, a Sapperling, but here it's getting a very real card.
Yeah, this is actually Chapter 7 for this Eldest Reborn. Because this is the second time it's fully played out.
Oh, you're right.
This is the third reading. This is like, having to read the same book every night to somebody.
Tell me more about the Eldest Reborn, BDM.
I just want to hear about the Eldest Reborn. Don't you want to know about any of the other sagas? Maybe the Phyrexian Scriptures? No, I just want to know about the Eldest Reborn. Wow, this has been amazing here from Andrew Cuneo. He's clinging to 3 life, but I really feel like he's going to win this game.
Oh no, yeah, he's managed. He needed to catch a break, and he did. And then that flip of the Sentinel was amazing for him.
Okay, so Short Sword goes over to the Cloud Reader Sphinx, and again, this is a forced block here from Andrew Cuneo. And
I wonder if Cuneo has any way to gain life in his deck. Let me see. I do not believe he does. So, yes, he does not. Oh, no, he has a Tatiova if he's able to put it in play.
yeah, he just needs to find that green mana. So both flyers step in the way of the Cloud Reader Sphinx. And the Cloud Reader Sphinx is up first. And it looks like we're going to see. Oh, wow. This is a pretty complicated play here for Michael Burnett. He's got Vicious Offering. He sacrifices Memorial to Glory, makes 2 tokens, sacrifices one of those tokens, and basically kills both of Andrew Cuneo's flyers. And now Andrew is in danger of losing next turn. And again, Michael can play another flyer next turn with that Windgrace Acolyte. Just been incredibly patient here.
Oh, but he has a second Sentinel to blink the Rona and get back the Blood Tallow Candle, and that's a way to get rid of one of those flyers.
Wow, this Sentinel was a card that, again, Paul Rietzel was hyping up when we were in the booth. He said this is a card that's just gone from whatever to one of his favorite cards in a deck like this. And you really see Andrew just putting it through its paces.
Oh, and I think Cuneo has an Eviscerate in his hand as well.
Wow.
Not 100% sure about that one. The Blood Tallow Candle from the Rona. 6 mana to activated. Takes care of the Cloud Reader Sphinx.
Wow. So now Michael is going to be able to play a flyer next turn out from under the Rona. But again, we see Andrew's got that covered.
Mm-hmm.
And now a Sentinel can get in and start working on Michael's life total, which is at 23.
He's at a very high life total, but as long as he stabilizes, he'll be fine. The Aldous Reborn with the second chapter doesn't actually make Michael discard anything. He's down to 0 cards in hand.
Yeah, but that Cloud Reader Sphinx is going to be coming back over to Andrew's side, I believe. Maybe he'll just take his own, because then you worry about a bounce spell.
Yeah, I think in this spot you might take just your own.
What we just saw.
Yeah, it was actually like pretty brutal for Cuneo that actually happened.
All right, so Skittering Surveyor, that's his second. Wow. This has just been really just displaying the power of these blue-black decks from Andrew.
Yeah, honestly, all this game has been amazing. This has been game 1.
Yeah. Yeah, whoever wins this is still going to have to find another win afterwards, too. And there's the Windgrace Acolyte. Maybe you can even start worrying about decking if you're Michael Burnett here.
It's possible. Blood Tallow Candle, Swamp. Ooh, and the Capuchin also.
Yeah,
that would have been a really nice draw for him.
Yeah, he could have really snuck a flyer by Andrew Cuneo, but now Andrew actually could take that Wrath.
So Andrew's now taking a look and seeing if there's anything he wants from Michael Burnett's graveyard. Otherwise, he also has a Sphinx in his yard.
A lot of great choices.
Yeah.
I think he is going to take his own Sphinx, and again, that's because we saw when he took the Sphinx from Michael Academy Journey Mage it back to his own hand. Scry 2. Man, Andrew really just would love to see an forest here. He would really love to see a forest and be able to get that Tatiova in play.
Yes. How many? Let me take a look and see how many.
I think he has 1 forest and 1 woodland cemetery in his deck.
Forest, woodland cemetery, and I believe no other ways to. Yeah, there's no navigator's compass. There's just no other way to splash it.
Wow, Andrew, who does not play a slow game of Magic, he is a pretty brisk player when he plays limited. He's in the tank here on this Scry. He's gonna keep both of them.
I wonder if maybe one of them is the forest. So, like, deciding whether it's too slow or, like, an action spell might be better.
We also see he can also draw whatever this card is right now, as long as it's not a land with Rona.
Yeah, and confirmation, he does have that Eviscerate, so that can take care of the Windgrace Acolyte.
Yeah, Andrew he is on a razor's edge here. Besides, he can just start sending in that Sentinel again.
Yeah, it's going to get in, dropping down Michael to 17.
I mean, there are no really good blocks for Michael.
Eviscerate does take care of the Windgrace Acolyte and a land.
Be curious to see if Andrew activates Rona. They'll tell us a little bit about what might be on top of his deck. If he doesn't, it's Forest or Woodland Cemetery. All right.
A little glider with a short sword is a 3-power attacker.
East-Air Glider comes down. Can't quite get past that Sphinx. But, Michael's 1 removal spell away from being able to maybe win this game.
All right, so he is activating Rona now. That's Karn's Temporal Sundering.
Oh, my gosh.
That's so good.
Look at this. From Andrew Cuneo, he scried a Karn's Temporal Sundering to the top of his deck, and now he's going to be able to cast it from under Rona.
So let's see what's the second thing he left on top.
Wow. So
and this might start explaining why Andrew was in the tank about what he wanted to leave on top, because he knew he was going to put one of those under Rona, and then he wanted to set up this turn knowing that he was going to take 2 turns.
He's looking at Karn's Temporal Sundering. He's going to cast it. Curious to see what he bounces with it. He's going to bounce Rona.
Oh, wow.
Rona won't be able to get the Karn's Temporal Sending back. It exiles itself.
But Rona might get something good back from the graveyard.
Yeah, well, how about a Blood Tallow Candle again?
Eldest Reborn, can I interest you?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Would not mind. Chapter,
yeah, BDM, tell me about chapters 8, 9, and 10.
Wow, and look at this. Andrew's just attacking with everything.
Yeah,
here.
well, he feels safe because he does have the extra turn after this.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Let's see what the follow-up is. 3 mana for the Rona, getting back the Blood Tallow Candle. Play it. And now he's going to take an extra turn.
Yeah, this is just crazy.
He's drawn a land for the turn.
Remember, folks, that we're actually going to see Martin Juza and Ben Stark's quarterfinal match here. The 2 Hall of Famers playing in the Beta Rochester draft. We watched them draft. We're actually going to get to see them play after these semifinals are complete.
That's exciting. So the 2 Sentinels of the Pearl Trident get in.
Yeah, he's got Mike down to 11.
What's the second card in Cuneo's hand?
All right, Michael Burnett says, sure, take it. Go down to 5.
It's big. Is this a...
I think he's just going to just activate...
Oh, it's Urgoros.
Okay, Urgoros, and then is he going to activate the Blood Tallow Candle? He's got 2 flyers. Doesn't need to... Oh, there's Blessed Light.
So he's going to take this... Yeah, and this is what he was forced to do because he's worried about Michael Burnett actually getting to use that Blessed Light. So that will take the Rona down.
Wow.
Leaving up the Blood Tallow Candle really paid off for him.
Yeah, absolutely. He could have gone for the splashier play of Eldest Reborn, but getting a removal spell for free, essentially out of his graveyard, was amazing. Free being 7 mana.
Yeah.
All right, there's Arvid the Cursed. And that's going to pick up a short sword.
And it does have lifelink and death touch, so putting a short sword on it when Michael's already at a really low life total, it looks nice. But Andrew Cuneo's board is very impressive.
Andrew just says,
yeah, he's like,
just going to attack with all these flyers here. And I got you, right?
On to game 2, and Andrew Cuneo takes down the first game here in the semifinals of GP Vegas. BDM, it looked like Cuneo was on the back pedal. He was so close to dying. He was at 3 life for so many turns, but he was able to turn that game around.
You ever see one of those movies where someone has to go from one room to the next room on the very high floor of a building, and the only way to do it is on the ledge?
Oh, yeah, and you're just watching it.
You're watching, and the wind is blowing, and the foot is slipping. That's what Andrew Cuneo did there. He was at 3. All right, so this is pretty exciting. We'll keep you updated on what's going on here, but I know people at home want to see these beta cards in action, want to see the 2 Hall of Famers playing, and we're going to check in on Martin Juza versus Ben Stark. Sorry to take away your play-by-play there.
Oh, yes. You're good, BDM. You got this.
Goblin Balloon Brigade is the play for Martin Juza. He's coming out of the gate very quickly. We thought he might have a red-white deck with a lot of flyers and banding. There's Ironclaw Orcs, one of the cards that was a staple of the first Sly deck. One of the decks that, when decks were never that low to the ground like we see right now. And Ironclaw Orcs was one of the signature cards that did that. Here we see a Circle of Protection blue from Ben Stark. So, thought perhaps...
How many circles did Ben end up with?
I'm not certain.
So let's talk about Goblin Balloon Brigade real quick, BDM. So this makes goblins gain flying until end of turn. Controller may not choose to make goblins fly after they have been blocked. Is that good in this format? Is this just one of the cards that they have to play? Because, you don't have enough playables.
I think in a dirtily format, I think it is good to be able to have a cheap creature that has some evasion that just won't get stopped in the late game. There's not a lot of ways to deal with it. There we see a little bit of land destruction from Ben Stark. I believe that was Phantasmal Terrain on the mountain, but that has not stopped Martin Juza. He's got a Hill Giant. Perhaps you've heard the term Hill Giant as an adjective, but it is actually a proper noun that describes the hill giant.
Yeah,
3/3 for 4 mana.
It's interesting. A lot of the words that you hear at your LGS, things like, oh, you got a grizzly bear, and you're like, I don't really know where that comes from. It's actually from alpha cards. It's alpha and beta cards. So hill giant, grizzly bear, that's where these come from.
Here we see Jade Monolith.
This is the one you guys tricked me with.
Yeah. I'm very sorry.
You're good. So, Jade Monolith, you may take damage done to any creature on yourself instead, but you must take all of it. Source of damage is unchanged.
Yeah, this is some of the original smack talk in Magic. Take all of it.
Yeah.
Just like yelling at people. But Martin Juza, this is what it looked like while he was drafting. We thought he would have a very, very aggressive deck.
Yeah, this is a beatdown deck.
Yeah, and this probably wouldn't be good enough in a modern limited format, but in beta, this is pretty good. And you see Ben Stark sees the writing on the wall, and they're going to go on to game 2 here.
I mean, this is what the players talked about. They kept talking about how 2-mana 1/1 flyer is kind of a house. There's not that many flyers in beta. There's only a couple, and a couple of things that give creatures flying. So having a creature that can just go unblocked for multiple turns is a big game.
So we're now, there was a little bit of playback there, but we're caught up. This is actually happening live at this moment in the feature match area. This is game 2.
And it did seem like the most important thing to draft for these players are things that had effect on the board. Very, very mediocre creature by nowadays standards are actually really good here, and Martin Juza has a lot of them.
There's Mons Goblin Raiders. This is named for Mons Johnson, who is still in the pit at R&D.
Yeah, I found out that this is actually a person at R&D. I learned that today.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mons Goblin Raiders is
Wow.
a 1-mana 1/1 getting in there.
Samite Healer gets power synced by Ben Stark. Power sunk.
Power
synced.
sunk.
So the original Syncopate, perhaps where the Syncopate name alludes to.
Yeah, that could be sweet. Samite Healer is a 2-mana 1/1, and it can prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn. So pretty good card to take care of.
There's a Pearled Unicorn. 2/2 for 3 mana. A Gray Ogre,
Oh
as
yeah,
we would
you
say.
guys were saying that this card was kind of a house, huh?
Well, I mean, in this format,
Ish.
it's just going to be a house. There's a castle from Ben Stark.
Okay, Castle is a weird one.
Basically, his untapped creatures get +0/+2. So it's a castle that he can hide behind.
Yeah.
But Martin has just curved out perfectly here. Again, 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. It's like a Dr. Seuss novel.
Yeah, it's kind of wild because these decks, the one thing that they look at the mana bases that they have. It's not like the mana bases are great, but Martin Juza is just curving out.
All right, now we have an elephant. We may see banding come into play here.
Aaron was explaining banding earlier on the stream, and my experience with banding is that whenever I play Momir Basic, if a creature has banding, I just cannot attack into it.
Oh, you definitely cannot attack into it. It's really bad. As long as one creature,
I did it one time, and then I learned.
Yeah, it's a very imprinting moment on your mind. As long as one creature on defense has banding and you block with everybody, you get to just assign damage however you like. That creature takes 1, and that creature takes 1, and my regenerator takes 5, and regenerated, and well, there's fire breathing on the flyer.
Yeah, and when people refer to fire breathing, it is actually this card.
So
fire breathing on this flyer is actually a big game because, I mean, Martin has 3 mountains, but Ben is only at 8 life.
Yeah, he's really put a hurting on Ben early on here, and Ben's got some really good cards in his deck, or in his, actually I should say, in his drafted pile.
Yeah.
But they may not necessarily be super amazing in his deck. Wow, here we see a clone.
Clone to copy the Pegasus.
And now the Pegasus, well, as long as it's untapped, is going to get a bonus from the castle.
Also, the Pegasus has banding, doesn't it?
It does, but he's only going to be able to block with the Pegasus. Here's Phantasmal Terrain again, just quote-unquote destroys the swamp.
Sure.
Also unlocks Martin's Time Walk if he wants to play it. Ben may have turned a corner here with a motley assemblage of cards.
Oh, yeah, this is a motley crew. I mean, they have to do what they have to do. Remember, a lot of these players took really, Ben ended up with an Underground Sea and a Mox Emerald. So those cards aren't exactly the beatdown plan. So he has to work hard to get all the playables in his deck.
I'm trying to remember what that white enchantment is on the elephant there. I can't quite make it out. I was thinking it was that's Holy Armor.
Yeah, so it's target creature gets +0/+2.
So it's the opposite of fire breathing.
Yeah, target creature Holy Armor and Chance gets +0/+1 until end of turn. So yeah, it's the anti-fire breathing.
Well, he would really like to have that on his Pegasus.
On his Pegasus, but yeah, the elephant doesn't quite need it.
So banding is going to make this is actually going to bog things down pretty badly.
Oh
here.
yeah. And it's not in these decks. You can't just exactly hope to peel your removal spells for the difficult creatures. A lot of them don't even. Some people didn't. Did Martin end up with any good removal spells? Yeah. We'll have to wait and see.
Martin was terrified of banding. So I think what we're going to see here is Martin. It looks like Ben's explaining banding. Again, these guys are teammates.
Yeah,
they're very good friends. No one's looking to sleaze anyone out here. Oh, is that a Howl from Beyond? That's the card that Martin has that swamp for. It doesn't actually. He can't actually make black mana here. He would that phantasmal terrain is actually doing some pretty hard work here. All right, so it looks like Martin is about to form his first band. Hill Giant and Mesa Pegasus are about to team up.
Yeah, they're.
It's not a great band name. Battle of the bands here because.
Oh yeah, there's more than one band.
The clone is a Mesa Pegasus, and it's got plus.
I don't buy this whole thing of the elephant or whatever that is playing an instrument. I don't know how that works, but they are going to form a band.
Both players are trying to figure out what happens.
They're trying to figure out exactly what happens here.
So what happens is if... you know what? I don't know what happens if a band gets blocked by a band. Who gets to assign what damage? So if the band attacks into the band, Ben Stark will get to decide how damage is dealt to his creatures. Mm-hmm. Martin will get to decide how damage is dealt to his creatures. But again, Ben Stark has 4 extra points of toughness in his band because of the castle. He also has 2 points of toughness from the Holy Armor.
Right.
So he's like +8 on defense here. And there's almost no way that Martin Juza can push through here.
Well, but
he's got 4 points. He can get to 7.
What you're saying is right, and he does have the Howl from Beyond.
But he doesn't have a swamp. The swamp is now an island.
The swamp is an island.
From the phantasmal terrain. So this is very nostalgic for old sealed deck formats and draft. We didn't have draft back then, but old limited formats, which would get really bogged down and weird enchantments would be in play and, odd buffs and, yeah.
I think we need to replace the nice playmats that we have here with concrete to have that real old school feeling to this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There was a comic book artist who used to come to Neutral Ground, and he would play Magic outside like the Marvel and DC offices while waiting for the editors to show up so they could sort of ambush them before they got in and try to get some freelance work.
Oh, that's cool.
And so he and a couple of the other artists would play Magic, and they actually played unsleeved.
And they played on concrete.
On concrete. Vintage decks, like fully powered, the deck. Right? It's on concrete. And they just are sanded. Those cards are sanded white on the back.
Oh, yeah.
In like a spiral pattern. They're gorgeous.
Yeah, no, I actually think they look awesome. Sometimes they're not tournament playable anymore at that point.
There's a Hurloon Minotaur. I mean, after all of that, Martin finally decided, you know what, I can't.
Well, it's funny because I think a lot of you hear the experience from a lot of players who played Magic way back in the day when they were in middle school or even younger, and they're like, yeah, I used to play Magic back then, but I don't think I knew the rules. And
Absolutely.
Here we have 2 pros, and they're having a really hard time figuring out how these creatures with banding attack into each other, so... Real nostalgic feelings over here.
Castle is doing super hard work.
Oh, yeah,
here.
it's keeping Ben alive.
And I don't know how many swamps Martin has in his deck, but a swamp might be something that he's interested in here.
Let me see if I can find out.
Yeah, we don't have deck lists so much as pick orders.
Oh, yeah, I lied. I cannot find out. Get baited, chat.
Yeah, it turns out they just didn't have beta checklists.
Why wouldn't they have that ready at every tournament, BDM?
So I'm not sure what's happening. Okay. So both players are just sort of saying go. And again, we could really hit some huge mana clumps in these decks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we expected that a lot of these decks are going to be playing 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 lands. Anywhere in that range is reasonable. Do you think things change much for Martin if he actually gets a real swamp?
I think so. If he can just sort of go wider than Ben has creatures, he can certainly, find a window to try to stick a Howl from Beyond. Again, Ben has multiple counter spells in his deck. Mm-hmm. So a Howl from Beyond does definitely require you to tap out.
What counter spells did Ben get?
He got a Power Sink. I believe he got a regular counter spell.
Ooh, nice. Yeah,
And
he did pick one of those.
Yeah, and he might even have multiple. Oh, by the way, yeah. Things are further confused here by Jade Monolith. Jade Monolith, though, not a card I think that Ben is very interested in deploying at this point because it involves taking damage to yourself.
Right. So for people at home, Jade Monolith is a 4-mana poly artifact. So as Aaron described it, there's mono artifacts which you can only activate once. There's poly artifacts which you can activate multiple times. So for 1 mana,
the Oracle text for a mono artifact is just artifact.
Just artifact, yeah. In case you were wondering. The next time a source of your choice would deal damage to target creature this turn, that source deals damage to you instead. So it's a nice way to protect your creatures. But yeah, Ben at 8 is not really interested in activating this.
So Ben is just showing Martin why the Jade Monolith is going to be, how it would work. That source deals that damage to you instead. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that amazing.
I do know that we have someone down there with just pulling Oracle text on everything. That is something that the players requested going into the draft.
Absolutely.
They're like, we need to know how these cards work. They're weird interactions.
Martin's trying to figure out. They were actually just trying to work out if Ben is dead here.
Yeah, they're kind of working through it together.
So he's got 5 mountains in play, so he can fire breathe that Pegasus 5 times. So he can get it up to a 5. He can band it with the Goblin, but he would need to spend a red to make the Goblin fly because unless both creatures in the band have flying, then the band doesn't have flying. The baggage of your friends would drag you down to earth.
Oh, I see. Okay, so people in the band, they all have to have the same abilities?
If you want them to fly, then both the creatures in the band have to have flying. All right, well, Martin's going to go for it here.
All right, so we are forming a band.
Yep.
And it's going to have flying.
It's going to pay for the Mons Goblin Raiders. Yeah. I think he's going to ultimately not attack here, honestly.
Well, he didn't last time.
I think he's a favorite to just not attack.
They worked through it for a while. Oh, this time they're coming in, both of them.
Okay, and it's flying. So
flying band, and the Pegasus has fire breathing.
So Ben has to block with the Mesa Pegasus, which is the clone. Mm-hmm. It's Mesa Pegasus is a 1/1, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So his is a 1/3, thanks to Castle.
Ben's is, yeah. So it's Mega Pegasus. Mesa Pegasus is 2 mana, 1/1 banding, flying, and the text.
So it is a 1/3, and so Martin can put 4 points of power into that band, which is currently 2, so he can get it to a 6. And the Mammoth cannot block here because both of those creatures have flying. So the only creature that can block is the Mesa Pegasus. Someone wave wildly at me if I'm wrong here, but I don't believe the elephant can get into the band. He auditioned, and he didn't have flying, and they said no.
Your first mistake, BDM, is asking for chat to tell you if they can actually get banded together, because banding is just complicated. I don't think Twitch chat plays banding.
Yeah, I was really asking Rashad here.
Rashad, hook us up.
We're just trying to figure out the creature without flying cannot block in the band necessarily. If the band that's attacking has both creatures have flying, Rashad just walked away. He just walked away. He just dropped his headphones on the ground and he left. Why did they get rid of banding? It's so cool. Yeah, no, I believe that the only blocker Ben Stark has here is the Mesa Pegasus, which is a 1/3. He has the option of preventing all the damage that would be dealt essentially to his 1/3. Yeah, there you go. So Martin is going to fire breathe 4 times. So it's a 6 power band. He's going to go one at a time here.
Yeah, I mean, both players.
Oh,
are
actually, I guess
he's just going
to make sure it's lethal for the Pegasus and force Ben to react with the Jade Monolith. So he can do the Jade Monolith. Instead of dealing the damage to the Pegasus, the damage would come through to Ben. You see the players are looking at their phones, the judges' phones, to get a little bit of clarity here. Man, it really makes you appreciate what a lean, clean game Magic has turned into. And in the end,
the band has disbanded.
Man, who Yoko Ono'd them? But now, flight on the elephant. So now we have a flying 3, 5, +2 from the castle. Yeah. And he can pump the toughness for every white mana he has. But now,
but this is going to be an attack from all,
attack with everybody.
And Martin Juza takes the match. It took them a while to figure out what was going to happen with the banding, but he was able to get there. His deck looked really good from the draft.
I want to take a moment to appreciate the best still had all these of all time, because Ben Stark showed him the Mox Emerald that was in his hand. It is the single greatest still had all these in the history of Magic. All right, we're going to get back to the GP now, though. So let's switch seats again.
Switching seats here. We're seeing Andrew Cuneo versus Michael Burnett, and now they are on Game 3. Let's catch up to what's been going on in this game. We have that Eviscerate seems to have killed a Knight of... I don't know if it killed the Knight. We're not exactly sure.
The Knight's is in a deep freeze.
Oh, actually, you're right. That's not the graveyard. It's frozen.
I think the Eviscerate might have killed an Aether Glider.
That's an aggressive Eviscerate, but we don't have the context fully for what's been going on in this game. And I guess life totals updating does change that a little bit. Andrew is at a lower life total than we saw.
Yeah, so I think he just said, you know what? I just can't take the damage from this flyer. We might have a special guest coming into the booth with us.
It looks like we do. Maybe. So Tatiova in Andrew Cuneo's hand, and this time he does have the mana to cast.
Oh, there's the Woodland Cemetery.
Yeah, last time we saw that Tatiova was kind of just rotting in his hand, even though it didn't actually punish him for game 1.
Well, here we see he's flashing in the Sentinel.
So Sentinel, and let's see if Michael Burnett has anything to do with this.
Brian David Marshall. It turns out that it's 25-10 or some such nonsense, which means you've been commentating for 2.5 hours. That is strictly too long.
It just feels like 2.5 hours to me.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I hope you don't mind, a downgrade in many, many ways, I'm sure we can agree. I'm going to replace it with someone who's just been playing in the beta draft. A Hall of Famer, a man who has opened some incredible cards this weekend, Mr. Ben Stark. So, Gabby, for about the next 30 seconds, you're on your own. BDM's going to pop out. And then, Gabby, you will be joined by an even better-looking Hall of Famer. Ben Stark.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, so let's do that.
I do want to congratulate Ben Stark on the greatest still had all of these from a losing position that I've ever seen in the history of Magic. Flash that Beta Mox Emerald. Great job by Ben, and hopefully a great job by Ben here as he takes over. And I'm going to go take a break. Gabby, thanks so much for sharing the booth with me.
Thank you, BDM. Have a good break. All right, everyone. So that Tatiova was not long for this world. Andrew was able to draw a card from it. Hold on one second. All right, and let's see what the follow-up is here. We're going to see an untap from Andrew. And Andrew's a little bit flooded. He has a couple of lands in hand. We're going to see 3 for Divination, so this is going to get him a couple more looks. And Michael Burnett has not the strongest board position, but that Eldest Reborn is going to help him probably get that Tatiova. Oh, but Icy Manipulator for Andrew Cuneo, and that is definitely going to help him stabilize. So the Eldest Reborn gets to Chapter 2. And we're going to see an attack from the Mesa Unicorn and the Skittering Surveyor. This is going to drop Andrew down to 7. And we're going to see a follow-up of... Ooh, nice. And this kick then having Menace is going to... I mean, the Icy Manipulator does manage this pretty well.
And here I am, being Ben Stark.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. So it turns out we've got one semi-final lined up for the beta. They're going to start in a little bit, but they want to wait until they find out the final seat in the last 4. So you're not missing anything beta at the moment. This is the only live action left in the building. And oh my lord, at the start of this weekend there were thousands and thousands and thousands of people in the room, and now there's about 12. And most of them are still playing in tournaments. That's the way it was intended.
Well, no, Rich, the Magic as it was intended, that's what we just watched a round ago.
That is very fair. And will again, the battle of the 1/1s. 4-mana castle.
Battle of the
That's what we're
bands.
talking about. All right, Ben Stark, let's sit you in beside Gabby over there. And we're watching Game 3 of Andrew Cuneo against Michael Burnett. We'll have plenty of beta chat with Ben, of course. But let's focus in on who makes it to the Grand Prix final, the second Grand Prix final of the weekend. So here's Gabby Sparts and Ben Stark.
Hey, Ben, welcome to the booth.
Hey, Gabby. It's nice to be here.
Condolences on the match, but that was a really nice still had this Mox.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I opened really good with the Underground on the Mox. I'm kind of disappointed because I've never gotten to do beta draft, and I drafted like a control deck with like 4 or 5 real win conditions and a bunch of cards that could stop someone a little bit and do nothing and 3 counter spells, and then I got ran over by a Boros aggro deck.
Yeah, I mean, Martin's deck was really good. It seemed like one of the better ones at the table, right?
I think Martin will beat me almost every time we play, but all these people with all their disintegrates and stuff don't scare me at all. Like, a lot of people have walls and disintegrates, and my deck is planning to win around that. I have effectively 6 counter spells for the red X spells. So I think I could have beaten a lot of the really good decks at our table, but Boros aggro is just kryptonite for what I drafted.
Yeah, do you think that was the worst matchup at the table?
I mean, like, this is the first beta draft I've ever done.
I know, this is all speculative.
But from what I saw, yes, I think that was exactly what my deck was vulnerable to, and Martin's just going to crush me every time we play.
Yeah, so condolences on that match. I know you probably really wanted to win the Alpha Booster or Alpha Starter.
I hate to sound like a noob, but to be honest, I'm just stoked to be here. You know, when I'm in a limited GP top 8, I really want to win, but in a beta draft, that was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and like, it was just awesome to get to crack those packs and to see the cards everyone opened.
Don't feel bad about sounding like a noob. I think that is true for everybody who was there. And also it's awesome because a lot of times, sometimes you talk to people who have been playing and they've been in the circuit for a long time and they're like, another Pro Tour, and they're like not even excited to play. But seeing the raw excitement of everybody in this room when this draft was going on was awesome.
This was way more exciting than a Grand Prix top 8 to me, and probably like pretty comparable to a PT top 8.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, the qualifiers were also very difficult. You could not lose a single game. A single match in the qualifiers to actually top 8. So, Ben, to catch you up on what's been going on in the semifinals, we have Andrew Cuneo versus Michael Burnett. And we saw Andrew basically stabilize at 3 in a really long and grindy game. Let me see if I can get you some deck lists.
Yeah, I can see this doesn't look good for Andrew. I think he's just conceded. Michael's just got a ton of permanents out, and
Yeah, and he is actually conceded. So Michael Burnett is going to move on to the finals here at Grand Prix Las Vegas. They had a really, really sick game one, and both of their decks look pretty good. They were both playing 3 colors, splashing a couple things. Andrew's deck didn't have that good waste of splash. Michael Burnett did have a couple skittering surveyors to get there, but it looks like Michael Burnett is moving on to the finals over here.
Well, I like splashing in this format. I didn't catch the draft or anything because I was doing the beta draft.
Right, of course.
But from what I saw, they both had good cards in play, and if you have a skittering surveyor, splashing is easy in this format.
All right, so we're moving on to the other semifinals, and this is Austin Mowrey versus Mark Jacobson. Let me see. Can you pass me those deck lists right there?
Yeah, that would be great.
Maybe I can get you some
Kinda
deck
see
lists
what's
for
going
this.
on.
Yeah.
I've got Mark Jacobson right here.
Okay.
Looks like he's playing red-white.
Oh, here's Austin for you.
Okay. So Mark's got a red-white aggro deck, it looks like. Just a good curve. He's got removal, 2 fiery interventions. He's just Shivan Fire, or he's playing like Run Amok. He's got a Haphazard Bombardment. That's a card I like a lot. Icy Manipulator. This deck looks pretty strong.
Yeah, people wanted Icy Manipulator in this draft. People wanted it in the beta draft.
I think we opened one.
Yeah, there was one. I don't know who ended up with it.
Definitely wasn't me.
So just a Gitu Chronicler for Austin. And Mark Jacobson is at 1 life and facing a lot of lethal attackers and an Icy Manipulator on the other side.
Yeah, it was stolen by Bolus's Clutches, which is one of my favorite cards in this set. There's a lot of really individually powerful cards, and the only thing better than having your own is stealing your opponent's.
The players, it's important to know, the players are playing for the match here. So Mark is going to need something very good here to stick around. It looks like the Icy Manipulator is one of the things that ended up with a counter from Haphazard Bombardment, but it's the only one around, so it's the one that survived.
Yeah, pretty unlucky.
Yeah.
75% chance it was going to die, and it survived.
All right, so let's see if Mark has anything that can bring him back in this game.
Well, he's not facing that much, but he is at 1. So if you count the Icy as a creature, yeah, Mark's going to need a Sergeant at Arms, even a Call to Cavalry. He's facing 5 things. He's only got 2, and he's at 1. So Mark is probably dead. This looks like a nice red-blue wizard stack. This is a lot of the type of stuff I like to have in this stack. You got 2 Chroniclers, Journey Mage, and Bolus Clutches. Keldon Raider is nice because it lets you discard extra lands, and you want to play 18 lands in this format.
It looks like Mark is deploying a couple of 2/2s just to maybe try to get enough blockers.
Well, he only needs 1 more. I mean, there's 4 creatures in play on Austin's side and an Icy. So if he can play 1 removal or 1 more creature, he's not dead on board. We just tuned in, of course. It's weird that he has that many creatures in hand, but...
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of things to deploy.
Wow, I don't know what he's thinking about. This seems like it has to kill Icy, because otherwise you can go end of turn tap on tap. And with the opponent with Mark at 1, Icy is effectively 2 creatures over the long run.
Yeah, but it is going to go after it. Maybe just wanted to double check that there wasn't anything else he wanted to kill.
Okay, though, so we just tuned in, so I didn't think Mark had 3 cards in hand to play.
Oh, he looked extremely dead.
Yeah, but he did. So it's a stable board now. It's 4 creatures versus 4 creatures. None of them have flying. It doesn't look like Austin has anything, so it looks like it's going to be like a top deck battle.
Oh, but is that a Jaya? Yeah.
And so Jaya itself doesn't give you the win, but it's going to draw 3 cards here, or 2 or 3 cards, however many cards Austin has in hand, and then he could find any bounce, any removal, anything to win this game.
So let's take another look. Oh.
I'm not sure what happened here.
Yeah, neither am I. But the players seem to agree.
Oh, he played the Get You Journey Mage, which does 2. He has another wizard in play.
Yes.
Okay, he just slapped that Journey Mage into play.
It was a little too fast for us. But yeah, that means that Austin is going to be moving into the finals here at Grand Prix Las Vegas. Condolences to Mark Jacobson. But yes, we are going to have a finals coming up soon.
I'm not surprised looking at his deck list. His blue-red deck looks great.
How do you like the blue-red Wizards deck in this format?
I love it. I think it's the second best deck behind Black-Green Thalids. Especially if you don't draft it overly aggressively. If you draft a lot of the value Wizards. Like, I don't mind playing a Journey Major, but I really want my deck to be about Blink and Chronicler.
Okay.
And Austin...
What do you mean by not drafting it aggressively?
So, even though the blue-red Wizards deck will attack, and it will win through that, incidental damage it does turn by turn, what really makes that deck good is card advantage, recursion. For example, Austin has Get 2 Chroniclers full of Blink of an Eyes. He's got 3 Chroniclers and 2 Blink of an Eyes. That basically is infinite cards. If you play Chronicler, you can get back your Blink. Then you can play Blink with Kicker on your Chronicler.
Get it back.
And yeah, that's a lot of mana, but a lot of games stalemate. So if you're in an even position, you just won the game because you're drawing 2 cards a turn. And these cards are both good on their own. Blink of an Eye is a great trick. It's cheap. It's flexible. You can, if you have more mana later, you get a card out of it. If you're tight on mana, you use it as a 2-mana bounce spell. Get 2 Chroniclers, great. Buys back a removal, or in the early game, it's a 1/3 body if you're on the draw and you need a blocker. So those are the kind of cards I really want to have in my Blue-Red Wizards deck.
Well, we have more Magic coming your way, but first, we have these messages.